So while Christmas has a reputation of good cheer and joy, it's also the most stressful month for the couples, according to some studies. We're going to explore today why December is the most stressful month for couples as they worry about Christmas finances and so on. I'm Margaret Johnson, your wedding fairy godmother, professional wedding officiant, and premarital mentor. I'm going to walk you through the steps from your moment of yes to your moment of I do. So, what does holiday stress mean for couples? With the arrival of Christmas times, great expectations reawaken in our homes everywhere, right? Gradually, an atmosphere of anticipation takes over. Parents may lay out plans to make the season uniquely happy for their children, and sometimes that can be a tall order. Grandparents start longing to spend time with their families and, intertwining generations during the holiday, even if that will be accomplished only through Skype or Zoom. There's still a lot of hype going on during the year. And the doors to many households are opened as wide as possible to welcome family, friends, and neighbors. And that obviously all sounds like great things, but we don't identify all the stresses that come along with it. Well, in our privacy, we do. We know how stressful that is. But a lot of people aren't really on the forefront saying, I hate this time, or my spouse and I argue every holiday season. Maybe that's not you, and that's great. And you should start a podcast and write a book and inform the rest of us. What is it that you are doing different than the thousands of couples who report saying that they argue more during the month of December than any other time of the year? It was reported that an average couple has 4 arguments during the day during December, right? Um, an average of 4 arguments. And then during December, they would argue about 124 times over the month. So this was done by a study in UK, and this was back in 2011. So obviously things haven't changed, but this is kind of like the basis of what we're talking about today. The main topics of conflicts are money worries, problems over family logistics, workload, how much to spend with each other, or how much time to spend with each other or not, how much money to spend, how much time to spend with the kids, or the lack of attention for each other. Around 20% of the participants reported considering splitting up after December, and the further 20% reporting that having doubts in their relationship would survive until the new year. Whoa, that blew my mind. So it makes sense that if a relationship is already suffering due to poor communication or lack of time with each other, this would be heightened during the time of the month when we're busiest focusing our attention on keeping other people happy, such as our extended families, our co-workers. We're out buying gifts and we're making big deals about a lot of shopping and things like that. So often enough, overloaded as it is with everyone else's high expectations and the competing demands of family and friends, work folks, associates, Christmas time is stressful for couples. Some wives and husbands, or husbands and wives, feel that at best they'll muddle along until January. So, because sometimes, many times, patience with one another runs thin for the wife and husband during the holidays for a variety of reasons, right? One spouse may be convinced that Christmas is just unaffordable. He or she feels stressed out about the cost of gifts and entertainment. Another spouse may experience the stress of workplace demands that don't go away to make room for the holidays. You might be in a high stress environment, atmosphere. For example, if you're in healthcare, I remember when I worked in a mental health facility, and around the holiday time, for obvious reasons, but if they're not obvious enough, this is when we're getting together around family members, and that can be triggering for some people. So if you work in a mental health environment, even if you think you're doing well, your work place might have a lot more demand on you. So usually around Thanksgiving, going into the holiday season, you have an uptick in admissions. Some couples are stressed out by the mere logistics of Christmas and the challenging of finding ways to celebrate with two sets of grandparents or extended families. Couples who make faith a priority cringe when the season real purpose get left in the shadow, right? So there's in addition certain realities of life that they don't manage to make themselves scarce just because Christmas time is here. Children get sick and require care. An overdue notice or an unpaid bill is still arrive in the mail. And then on top of that, you're shopping and looking for more gifts. And even if you decide not to buy gifts or cut back on your gift budget, there's still this guilt that lingers, right? So you're still having a negative feeling and experience around that. Stress grows for couples when they feel pushed or pulled in two or three seemingly impossible directions at once. Stress grows as spouses become more and more fatigued from trying to meet others' needs and expectations and from unusually unfounded fear of somehow letting their family down for Christmas, right? That's something we've got to learn to get out of, right? Are we really feeling the spirit of Christmas, or are we showing the feel of spirit of Christmas? Is this just for photographs to mail out and it's really stressing you out? What can your family do to make it enjoyable for everyone? Do you come to an agreement and minimize the amounts of gifts or the amounts of people that you invite to dinner? What's the reality for you, right? It is an unfortunate reality of life that the stress they feel turns the husband and wife away sometimes from one another at a time when you need each other the most. They may instead criticize each other, right? When we're under stress, it can sometimes be tempted. You can sometimes be tempted. I raise my hand to that, to take out your frustration verbally on those that are closest to you. Don't know if anyone else here wants to raise their hand, right? So a similar point had been made that fighting for your marriage doesn't seem to be top priority during these times. When you're stressed out, most people give others less benefit of a doubt and are quicker to react to frustration with their partners. Just when you need to be more supportive to each other, stress can lead you to turn against one another. So, advice for couples about dealing with the stress are offered in many books, right? So, they've got the 7 principles of making your marriage work and so on. Some advice had been given to not to offer advice too quickly when one of them is suffering from stress, right? So, the cardinal rule when helping your partner de stress is that understanding must precede advice. You have to let your partner know that you fully understand and empathize with the dilemma before you suggest a solution. Again, I raise my hand here because sometimes, not just during Christmas season, my husband, he's in tech. And sometimes I pride myself in being um, a problem solver. And sometimes he'll discuss what's going on with work, and he has a huge organization that looks to him for guidance. And I can sometimes just chop it up as, well, just do this, right? And because of the complexity of his job in itself, because I'm not a technical person, it is more complicated, but I'm just thinking, oh, nothing is all that serious. And then that, I'm certain, makes him feel like I'm dismissing his problem. I do care completely, but I don't want to heighten his anxiety that he's really feeling. But I'm not going with the cardinal rule, right? Because I don't fully understand what he's experiencing. Now, some therapy or counseling can certainly help couples pass through this. Something, formally or informal ways of engaging far fewer disagreements about these sorts of things, right? So therapy can help by assisting couples to engage in a dialogue about their daily or weekly, monthly, or annual rituals. And it's a powerful way to increase and deepen the shared meaning you have in your relationship and for the holidays. It's good to recognize, what does this mean to me? For example, for us in our household, I'm a person who just doesn't go with the flow of things. So, though I am thankful and I live my life in constant gratitude, the idea of stressing out during Thanksgiving, for example, that's something I choose not to highlight as a part of my celebratory in the holiday season. Though I will prepare meals, and I will be around friends and family, I don't go above and beyond of a specific turkey or a specific butter or a special. I'm not the greatest cook anyway. So that chops that up. However, I don't wait until the fourth Thursday of every November to express my gratitude. So it's just not that important to me. So for us, it allowed us to take the commercializing out of Thanksgiving and talk about and do the things that were important to us, spending time with our families, not going so over the top because a particular vegetable wasn't available. And so we've decided to take the stress completely out of this holiday. Going to counseling can also help encourage couples by encouraging them to talk about their childhood memories, their expectations as adolescents, as young adults in previous relationships, and how these experiences have led them to view things in their lives now and increase their knowledge and understanding of each other. This will obviously be leading them into discussions about creating their own rituals where they honor and respect each other's values, beliefs, likes, dislikes, and emotional needs that create meaningful ways for the couple to bond and emotionally attune with one another. When I tell you that we didn't remove Thanksgiving, but what we did was remove the pressures of what that meant. My husband and I had the conversation, and I asked, like, what is it that he loves about the holiday? And he says, oh, I just love to eat. And it's funny because on a regular day, I would not say he's a picky eater, but he's very specific about the things he likes and then he doesn't like. And then from my experience with him, he's not an overeater. So I said to him, well, all the things that are at a Thanksgiving dinner are sold in stores like year round. It's not as popular, but you can buy a turkey at any other time of year outside of November. And maybe they're not readily, right? But it exists, right? You can bake a sweet potato pie at another time of year, right? So there's not restrictions on when these items are sold. So we came to terms with that, and then we're like, you know what? Yeah, this is what I've told myself, right? This is going to be my reason that I say I like the holiday because I like to eat, but that's probably not so true, right? Because the items are available. So again, this is just one way that we take stress out of our relationships. So if a relationship is already suffering due to poor communications, like we talked before, or lack of time with each other, this is going to be the month of this, December specific. Maybe you can tolerate Thanksgiving because that's just the starter. That's 1 year, but then after that, it's Black Friday, it's Cyber Monday, it's pies, it's holiday parties from your jobs, and then holiday parties between you and your friends. January is the time when we see a significant increase in a number of people who are looking for advice about divorce and separation, right? Wow. I mean, yeah, that's interesting. So money tends to be at the root of most of these arguments during December. Having to visit the in-laws over Christmas period was a second reason for arguments, followed by someone not doing enough or helping around the house. Now, this one you can see this coming, right? Because what if one person's a more laid back? I'll use myself for example, more laid back about the holiday, and one has some strong beliefs system in what the holiday is supposed to look and feel like. And if you're not in tune with that, the person who is trying to get all the holiday decorations done, and another person may not feeling so much why the point, that can build up some resentment because the person's not as excited about it as you, right? So having to cook and prepare for guests and visiting friends and family were completed the top stressors in this holiday season. Other common triggers for December included drinking too much. So, drinking too much at Christmas parties or spending too much money on gifts for the children, and even the simple matters of the domestic arrangements in the house, right? Who's putting up the tree? Where does the tree need to go? Why are the lights not working? We've got the tree up, but the reindeer's not outside. Those small to someone, right? But if that means a lot to your partner, then again the communication needs to hop in real quick, right? So the guess for a perfect Christmas and keeping everyone happy can often result in couples neglecting one another in the long run, right? So, for example, if you end up having, someone who's close with their, family member or cousin, and they're joining together during a holiday and it's a joyous time, you might feel that dynamic shift a little, right? As you're hosting. Of course, you don't mind sharing your spouse, but when you feel neglected during the holiday season because you're trying to make everyone else happy, that definitely can hinder your progress and that you've made throughout your relationship in the year. It all can come crashing down in December, right? So the top 20 triggers for a December argument, we kind of touched base on a few of them. So not having enough money, visiting the in-laws, not doing enough to help out, cooking and preparing for guests, visiting other family members and friends, deciding what food to buy. I mean, this is a triggering argument, right? How much money to spend on the kids, spending too much money on each other, even. I mean, even your spouse spending a lot of money on a gift for you can create a trigger for an argument. How high the heating should be turned up or down, endless washing because, there's just a lot of things happening going on. Taking too long to get ready is number 11. Not giving each other enough attention was number 12. When we talked about this, drinking too much at social event with friends. Sometimes we have an opportunity to celebrate and we go over the top, right? Just go on a tangent until like a social drinking thing turns into, passed out, call from the hospital, sort of, just detrimental things, or just saying and doing things that are just embarrassing to yourself, your family, and your spouse. Number 14, one of you feels fat or unattractive. I can totally see that, right? Holiday times come up. If you're already feeling subconscious, just even if you don't overeat, right? Just retaining that extra fluid from the alcohol, from the extra salt and butter, from the extra sugar that you wouldn't have. And so we know sometimes when we don't feel good, right? We don't treat ourselves well, then and this is, we're not talking about being overweight per se. We're just having the feeling of just feeling unattractive, right? Because you've gouged yourself with food, salt, butter, sugar, and alcohol, right? Not having sex because one of you are tired, right? Like if that could be physically tired from all the running around, putting up directions, and that could just be mentally tired just from so much that's happening. You want to buy gifts for your friends and your family members, and you're also wanting to volunteer and give to strangers and pull up at a drive-through and pay it forward, and it just never seems to end. And then let's not forget that those deals that we're getting on Cyber Monday and Black Friday, that's going to hit like around the 27th or the 28th. When that credit card bill shows up on December 17th, when that statement closes, and 3 days after on December 20th, you get that credit card bill, even though you have some time to pay it, maybe within the next 25 days or so, you're still looking at what was a sale. And when you see all those items in one spot, that $9.99 toaster, turns into a $3,000 bill because you've picked up so many things that were $7.99, $14.99, and you're estimating, and it never doesn't feel quite well when it shows up. So then, here you've got that Black Friday credit card statement coming on December 17th, and you still have more Christmas shopping to do last minute before the 25th of December, right? So we are, we're down at now number 16. So deciding who has to drive, right? So that sometimes is an argument there. One of you saying inappropriate things in front of the guests. We talked about that a little bit, but this had a line on its own. Like I had included it in the drinking, right? But that was, you could just not even be drunk and you're just having inappropriate conversation. And number 18, drinking too much at the office party. So again, more embarrassment. 19, the fact that the house is constantly full of visitors. Oh, how we love our cousins, and oh, how we love friends over. But God dang it, sometimes you need a break from the break. And number 20, seeing each other less due to work and social events. So, what are we going to do? Well, now that you're armed with the information, let us just acknowledge that this is something that's happening to a lot of people. I'm not saying to cancel the holidays, but armed with this information, you will know that maybe the trigger isn't your spouse. Maybe the trigger isn't that something is wrong with them or something is wrong with you. We're just in a stressful time, and it's happening to more people other than you. So, some of the areas of discussions, right, might be saying goodbye. So, a ritual of partying communicates, even though I'm leaving, I care about you and look forward to being back with you. So, we're going to practice that. So, reunions are a ritual connection that communicates. I'm excited to see you again, and I want to share my experiences of the day with you, right? And then we're going to make sure meal times, right, are scheduled or put together for us, right? So meal times are an important time for families to connect, to talk and share about food and fun. And rituals of connections might include saying grace together, or talking about one positive thing or one negative thing of the day. Even very small children enjoy being the center of attention and having their success cheered or challenges empathized with. So create a routine that's meaningful for you and your partner, right? So the list of rituals in relationship is never ending. And it's important to create engaging in meaningful dialogue about what it means to you and helping you to make constructive plan in creating a ritual that can be both beneficial and that you and your spouse can be proud to say that this is your new routine. So I leave you with this. Now that we have reviewed that December is the most stressful month for couples as we worry about Christmas and finances, how are you going to make sure that this doesn't disrupt your holiday? I'm Margaret Johnson, your wedding fairy godmother, your professional wedding officiant. I'm going to walk you through the steps from your moment of yes to your moment of I do. And the best part is we get to do this together.